Atra-Hasis is the protagonist of an 18th century BCE Akkadian epic recorded in various versions on clay tablets. The Atra-Hasis tablets include both a creation myth and a flood account, which is one of three surviving Babylonian deluge stories. The name Atra-Hasis also appears on one of the Sumerian king lists as king of Shuruppak in the times before a flood. The oldest known copy of the epic tradition concerning Atra-Hasis can be dated by Colophon to the reign of Hammurabi's great-grandson, Ammi-Saduqa, but various old Babylonian fragments exist. It continued to be copied into the first millennium BCE. The Atra-Hasis story also exists in a later fragmentary Assyrian version, having been first rediscovered in the library of Ashurbanipal, but because of the fragmentary condition of the tablets and ambiguous words, translations had been uncertain. Its fragments were assembled and translated first by George Smith as the Chaldean account of Genesis. The name of its hero was corrected to Atra-Hasis by Heinrich Zimin in 1899. In 1965, W. G. Lambert and A. R. Millard published many additional texts belonging to the epic, including an Old Babylonian copy which is our most complete surviving recension of the tale. These new texts greatly increased knowledge of the epic and were the basis for Lambert and Millard's first English translation of the Atra-Hasis epic, in something approaching entirety. A further fragment has been recovered in Ugarit. Walter Burkert traces the model drawn from Atra-Hasis to a corresponding passage, the division by lots of the air, underworld and sea among Zeus, Hades and Poseidon in the Iliad, in which a resetting through which the foreign framework still shows. In its most complete surviving version, the Atra-Hasis epic is written on 3 tablets in Akkadian, the language of ancient Babylon. Synopsis. Tablet I contains a creation myth about the Sumerian gods Anu, Enlil, and Enki, gods of sky, wind, and water, when gods were in the ways of men, according to its incipit. Following the Cleromancy, sky is ruled by Anu, earth by Enlil, and the freshwater sea by Enki. Enlil assigned junior divines to do farm labor and maintain the rivers and canals. But after 40 years the lesser gods or Dingirs rebelled and refused to do strenuous labor. Instead of punishing the rebels, Enki, who was also the kind, wise counselor of the gods, suggested that humans be created to do the work. The mother goddess Mami is assigned the task of creating humans by shaping clay figurines mixed with the flesh and blood of the slain god Gishtoi, a god who had intelligence. All the gods in turn spit upon the clay. After 10 months, a specially made womb breaks open and humans are born. Tablet I continues with legends about overpopulation and plagues. Atra-Hasis is mentioned at the end of Tablet I. Tablet II begins with more overpopulation of humans and the god Enlil sending first famine and drought at formulaic intervals of 1200 years to reduce the population. In this epic Enlil is depicted as a nasty capricious god while Enki is depicted as a kind helpful god, perhaps because priests of Enki were writing and copying the story. Tablet II is mostly damaged, but ends with Enlil's decision to destroy humankind with a flood and Enki bound by an oath to keep the plan secret. Tablet III of the Atra-Hasis epic contains the flood story. This is the part that was adapted in Tablet She of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Tablet 3 of Atra-Hasis tells how the god Enki warns the hero Atra-Hasis of Shuruppak, speaking through a reed wall to dismantle his house and build a boat to escape the flood planned by the god Enlil to destroy humankind. The boat is to have a roof, like APSU, upper and lower decks, and to be sealed with bitumen. Atra-Hasis boards the boat with his family and animals and seals the door. The storm and flood begin. Even the gods are afraid. In Tablet 3 IV, lines 7 to 9 the words river and riverbank are used, which probably mean the Euphrates River, because Atra-Hasis is listed in WB 62 as a ruler of Shuruppak which was on the Euphrates River. After 7 days the flood ends and Atra-Hasis offers sacrifices to the gods. Enlil is furious with Enki for violating his oath, but Enki denies violating his oath and argues, "I made sure life was preserved." Enki and Enlil agree on other means for controlling the human population. Atra-Hasis in history. A few general histories can be attributed to the Mesopotamian Atra-Hasis by ancient sources. These should generally be considered mythology, but they do give an insight into the possible origins of the character. The Epic of Gilgamesh labels Atra-Hasis as the son of Ubaratutu, king of Shuruppak. On tablet she, Gilgamesh spoke to Utnapishtim, the faraway Oman of Shuruppak, son of Ubaratutu. The instructions of Shuruppak instead label Atra-Hasis as the son of the eponymous Shuruppak, who himself is labeled as the son of Ubaratutu. At this point we are left with two possible fathers, Ubaratutu or Shuruppak. Many available tablets comprising the Sumerian king lists support the Epic of Gilgamesh by omitting Shuruppak as a ruler of Shuruppak. These lists imply an immediate flood after or during the rule of Ubaratutu. These lists also make no mention of Atra-Hasis under any name. However, WB62 lists are different in rather interesting chronology. Here Atra-Hasis is listed as a ruler of Shuruppak and Guduk priest, preceded by his father Shuruppak, who is in turn preceded by his father Ubaratutu. WB62 would therefore lend support to the instructions of Shuruppak and is peculiar in that it mentions both Shuruppak and Atra-Hasis. In any event, it seems that Atra-Hasis was of royal blood. Whether he himself ruled and in what way this would affect the chronology is debatable. Literary inheritance. The Epic of Atra-Hasis provides additional information on the flood and flood hero that is omitted in Gilgameshi and other versions of the ancient Near East flood story. According to Atra-Hasis 3e, 40-47, the flood hero was at a banquet when the storm and flood began. He invited his people to a banquet. He sent his family on board. They ate and they drank, but he was in and out. He could not sit, could not crouch, for his heart was broken and he was vomiting gall. The flood story in the standard edition of the Epic of Gilgamesh, Chapter 11, may have been paraphrased or copied verbatim from a non-extant, intermediate version of the Epic of Atra-Hasis, but editorial changes were made, some of which had long-term consequences. The sentence quoted above from Atra-Hasis 3 IV, lines 6-7, "Like dragonflies they have filled the river," was changed in Gilgameshi line 123 "Like the spawn of fishes, they fill the sea." However, see comments above. Other editorial changes were made to the Atra-Hasis text. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, anthropomorphic descriptions of the gods are weakened. For example, Atra-Hasis Ob 3, 30-31, the Anunnaki were sitting in thirst and hunger, was changed in Gilgameshi 113-2, the gods feared the deluge. Sentences in Atra-Hasis 3 IV were omitted in Gilgamesh, e.g.,